Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland, an Arsenal podcast. I'm Gimli and tonight I'll be joined by... First, he's our producer and mini cheddar eating dynamo. I'm just hearing from Sky Sports News that he's had his first bath in just over 20 years. It's Danny the GFP. Hello, Danny.
Hello, sir.
And can you confirm or deny whether Sky Sports News have it correct?
Yeah, they have it absolutely right. I nipped round my brother's in, Dyson Close, back at the hospital in Huntingdon. Yeah, he lives there. He's got a big old jacuzzi with 6 jets. And all I'm going to say is by the time I left that bath, there was bits of corn and old 1p pieces floating around in that bottom of that tub.
Oh, Jesus. That musters up some memories, I tell you.
I think I found an old Casio databank watch I lost in 1984.
Oh, my word. Right, next up, a man who's also a lord. We've had to restrain him after last week's episode. It's Steve, or as you know him, Lord Hillwood. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. How you doing? I'm getting stuck into a large lasagna at the moment.
Oh, that beats the day.
Yeah, it's not the Spurs recipe, though, so we should be safe. I won't be running off halfway through the podcast.
Well, that's certainly good. It sounds like you're beating the day I had. I nearly got into a fist fight with a farmer in an underground car park, but that's another story for another podcast.
You shouldn't have changed him.
No, I didn't. He slammed his door into mine. I'd have put him through the windscreen. Next up, we have a man that's back by popular demand. He knows what's a moving and a shaking in España. Oh, thank God for that. It's our grumpy Venezuelan John. Hello, John.
Hola. How you guys doing?
It's lovely to have you back.
It's lovely to be back.
You haven't been in podcast obscurity though, have you? You've done a few since your last appearance on this show.
I have. I've been working overtime to try to buy some followers.
Oh, fantastic! And how did you go with that? I can give you a shout out if you run out of money.
No, you know how it is.
Oh, fair enough. It's a tough world.
It's a tough world out there.
And finally, he's usually up all night to get blocky, but he's back with us again tonight. It's Geoff Arsenal. Hello, Geoff.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
I hear you've run out of money as well.
Oh, I've run out of money for me followers. I don't know what I'm going to do.
It's an act of human kindness, I find, Geoff.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's a couple of people out there that I might ask for a loan.
You've just got to spread the love, haven't you?
Spread the love, yeah. You got it. Funky Chris and that Jack. I mean, anyone who calls himself Jack Star, that tells you a lot about the man, doesn't it?
No. Especially when his elder brother Fred has been pinched by Operation U-Tree.
Yes, good shout.
Oh, this has gone downhill quickly. We've got a jam-packed show tonight, so without any further delay, we're going to go straight over to Danny, who will tell you all the results from Arsenal ladies down to youth level. Danny.
He's gone.
He's muted his fucking mic, hasn't he?
Danny's gone. No, I don't think he's muted.
Cheddar eating Gaylord.
You know what? Because I'm busy tapping away on Twitter, I've just said, any of you people got any questions? And I didn't want to hear me typing while I'm doing it, so that's why it's come up like that. So I'm very sorry. So you people, when you're listening to this and you remember the point that I tweeted any questions, you know why it was muted. So yeah, they're coming in thick and fast. Right, yes, on to the roundup of the scores, which people seem to like. The under-21s have not played a game since the 7th of October. And their next game is at home to Aston Villa next Tuesday, the 12th, with a 7 p.m. kickoff. So I think that's... I'm not sure. I still don't know where we play our home reserve under-21 games. So if you go there, give us a wave. Maybe get a banner done, and then we will try and take notice of it and maybe even send you 10p. Right, next one. The under-19s, which is something I keep forgetting about. They played away in Dortmund because the way the under-19s league thing works, it's a mirror image of the Champions League. So it's called the UEFA Youth League. And so they played Dortmund the same night that we were playing Dortmund, which was last night. And they were 2-0 up with goals from our favourite Maureen Littman and John Terrell, who is another decent prospect. But the game ended 2-2. But that's not too bad considering. And guess who's back?
Is it?
Hey, Zellem. He come back. And he's back. And so it's lovely to see Zellem back in playing for us, because I thought he was going to be out for 3 months, and I think it's been less than 3 months. And yeah, like Honigstein was saying last week, was he saying that it was Gnabry, or was he saying it was Zellem that was on the radar of the German FA?
Gnabry,
yeah. So now that Zebelem is actually playing for the under 19s again, he might be on the radar as well. So hopefully, good luck to the man. Their next game, like I said, mirrors ours, is home to Marseille. And we're currently top of that youth group with 8 points. If we beat Marseille, we're almost guaranteed being through to the next stage, because the corresponding game is Napoli-Dortmund. So whichever one of those two wins is probably coming through with us. If it's a draw, we're going to go through. So, yeah, well done to the under-19s. They're doing really well in that competition. Played 4, won 2, drawn 2.
Well, it's to be noted that Terrell is back as well, because he was out for a little bit.
Yeah, he scored.
See, I did say that it was him. You said it was Zelalem, didn't you? That was no. But it was John Terrell.
Yeah, good player. Is he a good player, John?
He's a very good player. Actually, he was more touted when he came from the Barcelona academy than Bellerin. But as it turns out, Bellerin's game suited the English game a bit better, and so it's taken longer for Terrell to adjust. But Bellerin's a player. I think he's going to be one for the future.
What's his position? Midfield?
He's right back.
Yep.
He's more of a wing back, though.
I mean, Terrell, what's his position?
Oh, he's a center mid.
Ah, that's what I thought.
And hasn't he got an English mum or dad? So
yeah, his mom is English.
Oh, right. One of those situations. That's good.
Yeah.
Steal him if he's any good. Right, where was I? The under-18s have also not played a game in ages. Their next game is this Saturday, 11 a.m, away to Southampton. So good luck to the boys there. The ladies' season is over, but after our 500-0 demolition of some Kazakhstanian team, we're now playing Glasgow City in the Women's Champions League. I think that's what it's called. Their next game is at home against Glasgow City, which is this Saturday. It's a 1 a.m. kickoff, and it's been played at Boreham Woods Meadow Park Stadium. And so if you want to go along there, again, get a little banner saying our name, and we probably won't even notice, but we'll send you some sausages in the post if you can. The away leg, which is very short notice, is on Wednesday at 7 p.m. So the home leg is on Saturday and the away leg is on Wednesday. So I think that's because all the seasons be. So that's the roundup of all the scores. So most aren't playing, and when they are playing, we're doing quite well, which is nice to see.
We've got 2 epic games to talk about this week, but before we do, we were asked to come on TalkSport this week, so we put FK forward. This is what he said ahead of Saturday's game against Liverpool.
Yes, it's time for our fans forum. Let's speak first to, I think I'm right in saying I pronounce his name as FK. Is that right, FK?
Yeah, that's right. Evening, Andy. Evening, Bobby.
Hi, FK. You are from Bergkamp Wonderland, the podcast.
I am indeed, yeah.
I don't know if you were listening to the show. We had Neil Mellor on earlier on talking about Liverpool.
I did, yeah, I caught that.
He put you down as a 5-0 win for the away side.
I thought it was 3-2.
Oh, brilliant, FK.
Maybe
like it, FK.
Listen, it's going to be a very interesting game. What are we going to find out about Arsenal this weekend?
Well, I think it is going to be a massive game. I think a lot's been made about Arsenal's fixtures so far, about us not maybe sort of having faced a real sort of top team, and you could argue that could be the case. The league table always lies until May. That's why I kind of signed. But tomorrow, that's the start of the acid test. It's a real tough game, without question. They're probably the hardest team that we've faced in the league this season, and it's going to be a real test for both teams, I think. So I hope it's going to be an explosive game. I hope we can go on and get the 3 points and put on a show for the fans. But it's going to be a real test for the Arsenal, I think.
A lot of eyebrows were raised when Flamini signed on a free transfer. I think he's been one of your best. But I mean, Ozil's been outstanding. Ramsey, of course, but I think he's been wonderful. Sadly, we'll be missing for Arsenal fans tomorrow. How big a miss is this going to be?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously he's had a really sort of good impact on the team this season so far, and everyone knows of his qualities. He's positionally very disciplined, and he adds that little bit of steel in front of the back four, and he's just a great player to have in his leadership as well. He's sort of always barking instructions to players, and it's great to see. But I think people have short memories, and they kind of forget that we did actually have the second best defensive record last season without Flamini. It'll be a loss without question, but Mikel Arteta has proved that he can kind of play that role, and he is defensively minded, maybe more so than some people think. So he'll be a miss, but I think we can cope, and I think we've got a lot of talent in that midfield, and hopefully we'll overpower the Liverpool midfield and get the 3 points.
Aaron Ramsey, your best player of the season so far?
Oh, he's been brilliant, Bobby. A lot of people that kind of follow me on Twitter and have heard the podcast will know that I'm a massive fan of Rambo, and I've been a fan for years, and I'm so pleased that he's really come back and he's playing at the top of his game. He's got so much confidence. He's put the injury well and past behind him now, and he's just really enjoying his football, and he's such a fit lad, and he's just brilliant. Scoring goals and works hard every game. He never hides, and that's what I really love about him. He's a team player, so fantastic stuff.
There was a few screen grabs that went round at the beginning of the season when he started scoring bundles of goals from forum sites of Arsenal fans who the year or 18 months previous had been slaughtering him, saying he's not good enough to be in the Arsenal side. Obviously, from what you've just said, you weren't one of those. Are you surprised, A, that Arsenal fans didn't take to him to begin with, and B, how much of a turnaround he's made?
No, not really, Andy. I think, to be honest, if we're all honest, football fans are fickle at the best of times. And I know I've been wrong about players in the past, and I'm sure I'll be wrong about players in the future. But I wasn't surprised at the stick he took. Football's a very everyone wants short-term, immediate success. And when you've got a player who clearly was struggling, you can't make any doubts about it. He had the injury, he came back, and he just wasn't playing as well as we all knew that he could play, and signs that he was before he was injured. But the fact that he's come back now, he's definitely surprised me. I didn't realise he'd ever be this good. I really hope that it's not just like a phase he's going through. I hope he can kind of maintain his form and take his game even further. But he's just been a remarkable transformation, and credit to the boss, credit to him. He's had to work hard, and the team has kind of helped him get through it. So really pleased for him.
3 big fixtures coming up, of course, after this one. Live on TalkSport, by the way, commentary of Arsenal against Liverpool, 5:30 kick-off. Then you away to Borussia Dortmund, then Manchester United as well, to Sunday week, of course. Where will Arsenal be? What will we be talking about after that Manchester United game about your side?
Well, I hope that people will still see us as contenders for the league. I certainly think we've got a chance. If we can beat Liverpool tomorrow, and it is a big if, but if we can beat them, then obviously Dortmund becomes a tricky game, but it's a separate competition. United, for me, they've not started in the greatest of form, and I think they're a little bit on the ropes, if I'm being honest, boys. There's a chance for us to go up there, and for the first time in a few years, we can really give them a game, and hopefully, if we can avoid getting a defeat there, if we can maybe pick up a point or even a sneaky away win, I'm hoping that we'll have quite a successful couple of league games, and then people will start talking about us as serious contenders for the league. And I think if we can get into January hanging around the sort of top 2, top 3 places, maybe bring in 1 or 2 more players in the transfer window, then we could be the real deal. So my fingers are crossed. I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful. But obviously, we need to put in the performances.
Just a yes or no, because we've got another guest straight after you, and I want to get to him and give him some time on national radio. Will you definitely have to buy a striker in January to win the Premier League?
I think so.
Okay. Quick prediction for the game?
I'll go for 2-1 home win.
2-1 to the Arsenal. FK, thank you so much for coming on.
No worries. Thanks you, Andy. Cheers, Bobby. Bye.
Cheers, FK.
That game, as I mentioned, live on TalkSport commentary from 5:30.
Continuing on from that, we're going to talk about the Liverpool game now. So we're going to go over to Geoff for his reaction to it.
We was under a lot of pressure, wasn't we? We had these 3 massive games that was in front of us with Liverpool, Dortmund, and obviously Man United coming up this weekend. And especially after the Chelsea defeat, there was a lot of people that was a little bit deflated after that defeat, the League Cup game. But I think we attacked the game brilliantly. There was only really going to be one team that was going to win it if we could stop the SAS. That Mertesacker and Koscielny was different class, wasn't they? And I think we was worthy winners in the end. It was quite clear that we were worthy winners, and hopefully we can press on.
And John, Ozil and Cazorla developing a nice rapport with each other in midfield. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I think Cazorla being more acclimated to the English game is allowing Ozil to take a back seat right now and just orchestrate more than try to, be the main creator in the team. I think that's only going to help in the end because we're going to see a better and better performance from him as the season goes on. But I think, that relationship coupled with, the other creative mids, between Rambo and Jack and Rosicky, I don't think you could ask for a better situation.
For me, Ozil didn't really set the world alight against Liverpool, if I'm honest. But he's one of those players who is that good. He hasn't got to be on form to have a good game. Do you agree with that, Steve?
Absolutely. I think he's like some sort of stealth player, isn't he? Teams are scared of him. They're always watching him. They've always got men trying to be on him, but he always manages to wriggle away from them. And he just sort of seems to cruise his way through games, and suddenly he'll see something 3 or 4 passes ahead, and he makes it happen. And I think it didn't do Liverpool any favours playing with 3 at the back. That certainly helped us. And our midfield just made Steven Gerrard look as if he was the invisible man. I mean, it could have been more than the score it was, but we played very well and we deserved to win. And that's the reason why Alan Hansen took a sickie off Match of the Day, because he would have had to have praised us and it would have killed him.
Yes, indeed.
I did notice he was replaced by another bitter man in Danny Murphy, who, again, like Hansen, had very little of any merit to say about Arsenal as a club and their title chances. What is wrong with these ex-Liverpool players who are just so down on Arsenal, Geoff?
I don't know. It's a funny. Every job that seems to come up in the television for a punditry, it seems to go to a Liverpool player. I mean, it's always happened, isn't it? From when I was watching Match of the Day. But they do seem to have a thing about Arsenal, and it's a shame, really, because I mean it's quite clear that we are, I think, in my opinion, the best team in the Premier League at the moment, and the league table tells it that way as well.
I did see.
I'm sorry.
Go on, John.
Well, I was going to say, if I could add something about Ozil. A lot of people say that he had an off game, but you have to understand that there's a lot more attention being paid to him on a defensive basis. And I think just the runs that he makes and the space that he creates for others, I think that you saw that in the Ramsey goal, that there was 4 players around him when he made that pass. And so, I mean, some people say that he had an off game. I just think he had a quiet game because there was a lot of defense dedicated to him.
Steve, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think firstly he can handle that pressure, and secondly, what he does is he's got 4 players on him. That means players on other players of ours. But look at the way Ramsey finished that ball. He let that ball bounce. He knew he had time. He knew he could hit the target. He wanted to just pick his spot so that he could stick it right where it couldn't be saved and close the game out. And he's able to do that now. He's got confidence in front of goal to take his time and not rush it and get the body shape was perfect when he hit that shot. Brilliant goal, and it was just the end for them. And fantastic season he's having. And as Geoff said, the season doesn't lie, and his contribution's a major part of that. But going back to what Geoff said about why the media hate us so much and why so many of these ex-jobs go to Liverpool players, I'll tell you, it's quite obvious, because for the 20 years that they were the dominant team in Britain, they spent the whole of that 20 years packing the media with stooges who support their club. If you look in the biographies of most British sports writers in regional, local newspapers and in national newspapers, you'll find out that they worked on the Liverpool Echo. You find out that they come from the Northwest. And you'll also see that, obviously, that they've wormed their way up to the top of the tree in the papers they're in. That bias of the northern media that we've always gone about, that people used to laugh at us for and see as a conspiracy theory, was proved when we tried to sign Suarez, because they all came crawling out the woodwork with so much venom towards us. And it all comes down to one thing. We're the biggest club in London. They see us as foreign. They also see us as posh, and they don't like it. And they don't like it when we're top of the table, which is great.
Well said.
And I did also see Brendan Rodgers moaning at the end of the game about the goal that they had that was disallowed when the ref blew up. Can we try and pick this apart then, fellas? Danny?
I remember his moaning, and I remember was it Henderson who scored?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the build up to it or why it was disallowed. But do you want me to talk about what I thought about the game, or do you want to talk about the disallowed goal bit first?
The disallowed goal bit, I can regale it to you.
Go on then.
The ball was played through, and I believe it was Suarez and Sanya.
Down the left-hand side, wasn't it?
Yeah, Suarez had the pace on Sanya. Basically, Sanya did kind of tug him down. And I think, in today's terms, I think you'd call that taking one for the team. They should have they played on from there, and it got squared. Henderson knocked the ball in the net. Liverpool are saying that it should have been played on, but what do you make?
They'd have just moaned no matter what happened. So, I don't know, fuck them. They're just the point that Steve was saying about, I don't know if people realise that Liverpool were the Man United of the 70s and 80s. Everybody, no matter where you were from, supported them, and their supporters dwindled over the years, which is nice to see. And that's back where Manc United, that's how they'll end up going on. But with the actual game itself, I think Liverpool fucked up straight from the beginning. I mean, you can't go away and play three centre-backs, especially when we sold Toure, he was 34. He's still saying he's 32. I mean, Toure had no pace. I mean, he's got a good footballing brain to a certain degree, but positionally, I've always thought he's a little bit too eager to get forward. Gerrard is just a shadow of the player he used to be. I mean, he used to be guaranteed 10, 15, 20 goals a season from him. I know that their Champions League run, where they had all those qualifying games, he scored about nearly 20 goals that season, I think. But the most impressive thing for me was, I've always said, a player, Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp, Ian Wright, they don't control the ball, look and shoot. Cazorla's thing, the header was straight away on target, got there, and then that come back out, and then rather than trying to control the ball, he whacked it straight back in again. So that was two instantaneous decisions he made. First one to header it a goal, the second one to kick the rebound. That's the sort of thing that Giroud and other players in the team, like I would say Ramsey, but he could fucking score if he was in the wrong end. We're blindfolded at the moment. But Giroud needs to learn you haven't got time for a second touch. He needs to look at the likes of Cazorla and watch some old videos and you know where the goal is. Hit the ball first time, because Cazorla showed, even someone who isn't on form at the moment, he's coming back after a busy summer and an injury, that you need to kick the ball straight away. You need to you haven't got time for the second touch, and that's something he's doing a little bit too much of. Although Giroud, he's the first man to track back defending, he's covering in midfield. The bloke is everywhere. He's a star of a player. I'm so impressed with Giroud and the way he's developing as a player. But I thought Liverpool were very poor. You can't come to Arsenal and play three centre backs, and the SAS were ruled out, nullified by our brilliant midfield again.
Missing in action.
Yeah, I think one of my...
AWOL is the word you're looking for.
Anna is my friend, and she's a Liverpool fan, and she said maybe it's coming to the time where Gerrard needs to admit that he's getting on a bit. I mean, he's 33, and he's not the goal-scoring player he used to be, and maybe it's coming to the time where he has to think about retiring.
I don't know about you guys, but I actually expected them to give us more of a game than they did. Steve?
Well, I mean, I think half of it at the end of the day is you can only play as good as you're allowed to play. And if you don't have the ball, which they didn't for huge tracks of the game, it's very hard to do anything about it. And whenever they got the ball back, they gave it straight away again. I mean, as for this alleged goal, I mean, the ref blew the whistle to book a player. And as soon as his whistle goes, play stops. He's booking a player. Yes, he's going to give a free kick, but he didn't give a free kick. 2 or 3 players, on the TV have said exactly the same. The ref did not tell them to play on. The ref didn't signal that they could take a quick free kick. So therefore, the goal was nullified. I'm surprised Brendan Rodgers actually found the time to complain about it, because when I saw him being interviewed on Sky Sports after the game, he practically looked as if he was about to burst into tears, because all their delusion for being in the second place of the league, all their SAS, all their this, that, and the other was shattered in 90 minutes. And, there was only one team in the game. They weren't good enough.
I agree. And the table doesn't lie. Arsenal being first, Liverpool being second. At the moment in the table, they are our closest rivals. This was an important result. Would you go with that as well, John?
Obviously, it was an important result. I just think that anything that constitutes, draws and wins in these big games is only going to add to our confidence. Going into, maybe what, quote unquote is the easier parts of our schedule. Consistency is what's going to get us a trophy. And, there's a much hype over these big games and rightfully so. But what's going to, I think Manchester United last year showed that, you don't have to win every big match. What you have to do is be consistent.
And I understand that you had something to say about Coutinho and Sanya.
Well, yeah. I mean, when Gibbs was down in the area, the opposite area, and Liverpool continued attacking, there was a GIF going around, and obviously everybody saw it live, about when Sanya got into Coutinho's face, and then Suarez came over and had a bit too, and Buck, gave him a piece of his mind. I think they both shat themselves. It was glorious. It was awesome. And that's the kind of stuff that's happening in our team now. I think it all goes down. It perpetuates throughout the team. You have this fighting mentality, and the guys are just fighting for each other right now.
Yeah, having Sanya back in the team, it does make a difference. I know last week we absolutely got ripped to pieces afterwards on Twitter and other social media sites about talking a bit downbeat about Jenkinson. But do you think, Geoff, Sanya makes a difference to Arsenal?
He's a man he's got a wealth of experience, isn't he? And he's a fantastic defender. I'd back him against anyone in the air. He's brilliant in the air, isn't he? And it'd be a big miss if we lost him right now, especially because although Jenkinson he's very promising, I think he's got a lot to learn yet. And again, he's at a football club that it's going to be difficult for him to learn on the job now with the way we are at the moment. I don't think that he's going to be getting a chance for another 18 months yet.
Yeah, and John, just to swivel back to you quickly, you weren't involved in the conversation we had about Jenks last week. Would you like to give us your input on it?
Well, yeah, I think you're looking at two different types of talent. For example, let's say Ramsey, where he was on those heights before the leg break, and Wenger stuck with him. Jenkinson came from a lower league. He's never really had that loan experience where he's played anywhere else. I think the supporters kind of get blinded by the whole his grandfather was Arsenal. He's blindly Arsenal. He's completely loyal. I think they get blinded by that a bit. If you look at history, when somebody comes from a lower league like that, I think it would be great for Jenkinson to get a loan. Bring in a good right back that could challenge him, because he is the future at that position supposedly. So if he is to be that, then a little competition is not going to derail that. He's either going to flourish or he's going to stall. But I think it's time to bring in a right back like a Corchia from France that we were speaking about during the summer. That's a legitimate like for like replacement for Bach when he needs to be relieved of that position, and send Jenkinson out on a loan. If he's going to get better, he's going to get better. But I don't think that we can afford to do it on our watch. When we're going for trophies.
But what do you make? Earlier in the show you said about Bellerin being, the next up and coming right back at Arsenal. Where does Jenks and Bellerin fit into that as in order? Would you say that after Sanya leaves, would you say that Jenks is the next one in line and then Bellerin after that? Or do you think there's any possibility of Bellerin overtaking Jenkinson?
Absolutely. I think Bellerin, if he doesn't move to a right wing position, which he's more than capable, because he's more wing back than a right back, but he's a good defender as well. If he doesn't move to that position, he could be very much like Gibbs is right now for us. So if you're looking at a situation where you want competition at a position, why wouldn't you want Bach as your third or fourth center back choice, as he's proven that he's capable? I think you're in a situation where you're not amiss by going out and getting a right back and sending Jenkinson out on loan. If he's going to flourish, he's going to flourish. But do we want to do it while we're going for trophies and have that odd game, have a Swansea game from last year, if you remember, during the Christmas period, have that off game that cost us, vital points. I personally don't want it.
And to move further back down the pitch, I'd also like to touch on Szczesny's fine saves again. For me, this boy, he just can't do anything wrong this season. Danny, would you like to explain how, for some reason, he's just found this fine vein of form?
Well, I think he's been listening to the podcast and Steve's wise words and been telling Jerry Payton to shut up, he knows nothing. Because some of the up like a salmon saves he has been doing I've actually sat there and applauded him a couple of times this season with some of the stuff against Palace and the double save that he did in was it against Liverpool? I see so many games I lose track of which one's which, but he did a double save. down and then saved and up again. It's just absolutely brilliant, and I don't think it can be just down to the fact that we have got I can't remember his name, the bloke from Palermo, the other goalkeeper.
Viviano.
That's it, Viviano. I don't think it's just down to that. I'm not sure what it could be down to. But it's just been, it must be so, I've mentioned before, that if you're one of the back four and you know you've got an Almunia behind you, when you get the ball, you're going to be tense thinking, I've got to get rid of this because I can't let anyone near him. But it's got to fill the back four with so much confidence, knowing that no matter what this season, people are chucking at Szczesny. He's either batting it away, punching it away, saving it, and he is absolutely fantastic. For me, he's the goalkeeper of the season, and he's in the best form I've ever seen him in, which is brilliant, because at times last season we were doubting him and thinking we need another goalkeeper, and now on form like this, I don't think we ever need another goalkeeper.
I also think his aerial ability has improved. Steve?
Yeah, I think what Danny said goes a long way, that he's giving the defence a lot of confidence, but I think he gets a lot of confidence on having a great defence in front of him. I think he trusts them, so he's not prepared to come for the ball when he shouldn't, and his positioning is improving, and he's making match-winning saves. Did it against Liverpool, did it against Tottenham, and he did it last night as well. 2 really good saves.
Definitely. So, is there anything else then, fellas, that you would like to touch on before we move on to last night's game?
No, not really. I just think that it's just shown, people have been saying, it's one of the Twitter things that people's asked us to mention, when are people going to shut up going, we haven't played anybody? Game on game, we are now the same results as we were last season, same, I think 25 points overall. When you take the first, how many games we played now? Is it 10 games? You take those 10 games at relevant points during last season and match them up against this season, we've got 25 points like we did last season. We're going to say about the Dortmund, but we've now beaten Dortmund away. We've beaten Liverpool at home. We've beaten the dirty shysters at home. When are people going to shut up about it? I think if we can do it on Sunday, which we're going to come to later in the pod, then that's going to shut people up, because we've just shown that we are doing very, very well, and I'm very, very happy with it all.
And Strutter, he is talking about you.
Easy, Tiger.
Because he was the one that came on the podcast. He's like, oh yeah, well, we haven't beaten anyone good. If you look at the form, then we've beaten all those teams. In fact, we're 2 points down on what we were last year. We got scrutinised last week for not being positive. Yeah. So this week, as I've explained to people, there is a lot of positivity in the tea cakes, people. We are loving it. We love the fact that we're top of the league. So we will move on and we will talk about last night's game. The next game to talk about was last night's 1-0 win to Borussia Dortmund. This game was very gritty with few chances for either side. In the end, it was Arsenal on this occasion that caught Dortmund cold, very much like the hosts did at the Emirates just over a fortnight ago. This time we'll go over to John for your thoughts on last night's game.
Well, I'm going to keep this brief. I'm going to put what I put on my Twitter account last night. We played below our standard with key players injured, away from home at a ridiculously tough place to go into, and still winning. And for me, that's bliss. That's a sign of a great team. When you can do all that and still come out with 3 points, I mean, what more can you ask for?
Definitely. And Danny, you have quite an astounding fact, don't you, about Dortmund?
There's a couple of little cheeky ones there. We had to look this up because we were so excited last night that we couldn't remember what it was, so I've had to write it down. It was the first time that Dortmund had failed to score in a Champions League home game since 2002, when they lost 1-0 to AC Milan, which was a run of 60 games. And also, no English club has ever gone and won in Dortmund. Now, I'm not sure if they mean Champions League or UEFA Cup or Cup Winners' Cup or the Fairs Cup. I'm not sure how far back that's going to go, but that is one outstanding thing to go there. And my friend, French bloke who does a French podcast, an Arsenal podcast, Nightak, he was there, and he said it was 500 fat Germans shouting a little bit, and he said it weren't even that good. And I know, Gim, you were mentioning about the Giroud chant coming through, and it was mightily impressive.
Yeah, definitely. Geoff, we'll get your thoughts on it, because as Danny was just saying, I'm thinking about the 70 or 75th minute. We just heard na 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 na. It's goosebumps, isn't it? To sit there, and watch it on the telly and to hear the away supporters just singing so loud and proud. And in a place, I mean, when we spoke to Honigstein the other week and we said about German support and how they get so passionate and they are loud, to go to a place like that and out-sing them, that's more than we could ever ask for, isn't it, Geoff?
Yeah, I mean, they was loud and proud last night on the TV, and I was proud of them as well. And I mean, you had the back and forth with the North Bank and with the clock end and all that. You could hear that coming through loud and clear, and then that's above their 15,000 yellow wall, they called it. But the game. I mean, I think you see an Arsenal performance last night. I mean, it was a masterclass, really. It really was. You know, there was very, very few mistakes. There was really, really tight. And you can tell that Baldy has definitely been working. I mean, people on Twitter used to say to me, they're not doing nothing, they don't do nothing defensively. Well, you could tell last night. They looked like a George Graham defence last night. You know, where they was holding the line very, very high, wasn't they, on free kicks? I'm not really a lover of that. But what they do is that gives the goalkeeper a chance, one, to come, or the ball has got to be a really, really good ball to put into that great area for the opposition team to score, you know. And you could see Baldy's input last night. It was really, really quite clear. And the way they defended was fantastic. And when they got on the ball, they was popping the ball about, you know, like the old days, which was really, really great to see. And I think last night will give them the absolute belief now to go on. And I really, really do think we can go on and win the Premier League down to that result last night.
Definitely. This is one of the questions that I wanted to ask you guys. Last time we won away in Germany, we went on a superb run of form. I mean, some people could even argue that we are still on that run of form from Bayern Munich, the away result there. Steve, is that something you'd agree with? Do you think this is something that we can build on, get stronger and go better? And does, most importantly, this put us in contention to win the league?
Well, we're top of the table. We've just beaten last year's finalists in the Champions League. You know, as Danny just pointed out, you know, they've not lost at home in X many games. Now, they're another scalp to add to the Arsenal collection. First team to beat AC Milan in the San Siro. First English team to go at the Bernabeu and beat Real Madrid. And the first team to beat Bayern Munich at home. And now the first team to beat Borussia Dortmund at home. You know, I think when you see that first half last night, if you go and watch that again, we held the ball for so much time in that first half. The amount of possession we had, denying Dortmund the chance, they got wound up, they were running around everywhere. Yeah, I know we didn't create any chances, but we controlled the game. We stopped them playing because they couldn't get the ball and they didn't have the ball. And, you know, to be able to go there and play like that, and then you get one chance and you take it and come away winners, that's a sign of a class side. As John said, you can't ask for any more. Now, you know, they're going this weekend to play Manchester United, who are not having the best of seasons. We all know that anything on earth can happen up there, given the standard of referees and the liberties they're allowed to get away with taking, not to mention certain cut stunts who play for them. But, you know, the team are going to be confident that they are on a roll, they're winning, they've got a world-class player in their side who can put a dead ball on a sixpence, standing with his back to goal, doing whatever he fancies and hold off four players at the same time while he's doing it. So, of course it's great for them. Of course, they're on a roll. And anybody who's going to play us now is going to be secretly thinking, oh, Jesus Christ, well, I hope they don't beat us by too many. And, you know, Man United are going to be, their players are going to be being told, you know, you've really got to up your performance by 1,000% on what you've been showing so far this season. If you don't, you're going to get thrashed. And Arsenal are going to go there. They're going to be level-headed. They're going to keep the ball. If they do what they did at Dortmund last night, they'll win the game easily.
And you've got to remember, this is the same group of players, really, bar one, that played last year. You know, so, you know, Wenger always had that belief in these players, right? And there was a lot of people that was on Twitter and that and saying about this one and that one. But he stuck by them. And this is what he could see was going to happen if they grew a little bit together and had a bit more confidence, because the confidence they've got to go to Dortmund and out, they really did out football Dortmund last night, and Dortmund are considered one of the best footballing teams in the world, you know. And to go to Dortmund, we outplayed them from start to finish. All right, they had their little moments, but they're going to have, you know, any good footballing team is going to have segments of the game 5 and 10 minutes and that, right? But the way they're playing, the confidence they've got, you know, I think we can really, really go on.
And Danny, how important, because I think for me, Per Mertesacker was probably one of the standout players last night. How important is Per Mertesacker to this Arsenal team?
Oh, what you mean, the lesser spotted flying Mertesacker, as I tweeted last night? Oh
Yes.
my! If that goal would have gone in, I probably would have turned inside out with utter joy. At one point, you saw it might have been Lewandowski or the unpronounceable number 10 who played in behind him. That's him. Yep. He ran at goal, and then Mertesacker. No, that's the right winger. No, the Mkhitaryan thing.
Mkhitaryan.
That's it. Yeah. No.
Mkhitaryan.
He was running at the goal, and there was 3 of our players there, and Mertesacker took the ball off him, and he didn't even know he'd had the ball taken off him or who the hell had done it. And he just stopped, looked round, and the BFG smiled and wandered off with the ball. And I thought, I was saying to Adam last night, Adam Hurst, the hardest human that's ever lived, he was here, oh bloody Arsenal, oh for fuck's sake, oh why aren't we do? I said, look, take it easy, you can't judge a game on one half. They haven't scored. Wenger's going there for a 0-0. And I said this on the last podcast. I think it's going to be a 0-0 and we might lose to a dodgy Lewandowski's goal. But the first half, like Steve was saying, went in there, frustrated them. Mertesacker was absolutely brilliant at the back. And I think Koscielny gets a lot of praise, but I think Mertesacker is the glue that makes them two fantastic. It's like the old days where you had Tony Adams hanging back and Campbell or Keown running forward. Without Adams, the defence was nothing, and I see Mertesacker as a 21st century Adams. He is that good, that imposing, that I just love him. So people need to just give Mertesacker a little bit more praise, and it's not just all Koscielny, because Koscielny feels so confident that Mertesacker, as long as he isn't running back like that, the flying Mertesacker header. Do you see him running back after? I think Ozil was trying to give him a piggyback. They had 3 players like Huskies trying to hush him back to his defensive role. I thought that was a little bit silly being out of position that far, but he is absolutely brilliant.
Definitely. Another standout player from last night was also Mikel Arteta, and especially with the Liverpool game as well. I thought he had an absolute stormer against Liverpool last night as well. He just seemed to be everywhere. He was getting involved. It was niggly. It was scrappy. It was like a little terrier on that pitch. Geoff, what does he bring to the Arsenal team for you?
Well, he's got that great experience to start with. He's an organiser without shouting and screaming, and his passing ability is fantastic. He keeps it nice and simple. He's very calming on the ball, and for that passing and that possession that Arsenal play, he is an ideal man to be sitting in there and for doing that. And he's adapted his game to play for Arsenal, because he was more of a creative midfield player rather than a defensive midfield player. He does get booked a lot, but all defensive midfield players, when they're doing a job properly, they are going to get booked. But his tackling's getting better. He's all across the pitch. He covers a lot of room all over the pitch, doesn't he? And I think he's a great influence to the boys at Colney as well, because he's an absolute model professional, I'm told.
I think people forget that Arteta spent 5 years of his career at Barcelona, with Barcelona, then the C team, then the B team, and I can't remember what players he was at I know Xavi Alonso was one of them, but I think he spent 5 or 6 years there. So he's got some Spanish DNA, Barcelona DNA in him. So I think that Spain and Barcelona have definitely missed out on a trick with him, because he is so composed on the ball. And I thought he was harshly booked, because a couple of other tackles went on after that where they didn't get booked, and he just stood there with his perfect Lego hair and thought, oh, what's going on? Why have you booked me? And for a player who is doing the hard tackling and running the midfield to get booked so early on and go the rest of the game without getting done, I thought that was just a masterclass of defending midfieldering. Midfieldering, is that even a word? I've made a new word up.
So not only just the best podcast in the FBAs, or the only Arsenal podcast, we just make our own book of language. Call it the Bergkamp Wonderland Dictionary.
Could do. So far we've got one word.
There's quite a few dicks in it and all.
Yeah, it's not really a nice thing to say about Danny, but Danny,
It's very kind of you. I'll take it as it wasn't meant.
But before we push the record button tonight, we were talking about possible outcomes in the next game, and we have Marseille coming up next. And John, you gave us a couple of outcomes on how we can qualify for the next round without having to win.
I think if as long as Dortmund don't win their game, we qualify if we get a result, whether it be a draw or a win. So that's what we're looking for in the next match. I think that's going to be a tough match too, obviously, because Napoli took points off Dortmund in the first encounter. I think we would all agree that we would love to go into Napoli without needing a result to qualify, and just going for the top of the group. So it's not the greatest situation to be dependent on other people's results, but if Napoli can do some kind of work versus Dortmund, then we have a chance to qualify next match day.
So I'd much rather be in our position than Dortmund's position. We're top of the group, 9 points. And like you say, the next game is Napoli-Dortmund. If they draw, and we will beat Marseille because Marseille is shit, we're through. Marseille have lost all 4 games. They've only scored 4 goals and conceded 10. And so whichever one of Napoli or Dortmund win, in fact, even if Dortmund win, that'll only put them on 9 and we're on 12.
Surely the thought of Dortmund going out this early,
again, they did it a few years ago.
No, that's almost unthinkable when you think about them being in last year's final, and it's just. So, is there anything else that we think needs to be covered on last night's game, or is there anything else that you guys would like to talk about last night's game?
Steve, haven't you got to mention something about the Polish Andy Cole?
Yeah, I was watching this in the pub last night. I went to a pub I don't normally go in, where it was full of Polish Arsenal fans, and I was abusing Lewandowski from the start just because I felt like it. But we were having a little dig around. I keep calling the Polish Andy Cole because he's very wasteful with his shots, and we were having a dig around, Danny and I, before the podcast. And what was the site, Danny? WhoScored.com?
Yeah, WhoScored.com. Very good site, full of nice stats.
Yeah, well, no, we compared 4 players. Now, Lewandowski has got a wastage factor of 3.9. So, in other words, he takes nearly 4 shots to score. Compare this to Olivier Giroud, who takes just over 3 shots to score. Robin van Persie, see you next Tuesday, or rather on Sunday, at 3.5. And Aaron Ramsey, 2.2. Which shows that out of that all 3 of the strikers pale in comparison to the rampant Rambo Ramsey. But what it does show you is that actually Lewandowski is 25% more wasting of his shots on goal than the other 2 strikers we compared him to. And the thing is, if you look at him in the first game, he didn't really do much apart from the fact when he got free and he'd already had about 5 shots and he scored 1. But most of his game was around play acting and falling over. And last night, his game was just, again, play acting, rolling around, diving over Koscielny's foot, making out that he was hurt. And, I just think at the end of the day, this is a guy whose agent is very greedy and very well known in Poland for being greedy. It's Lewandowski's last contract. Lewandowski wants to go to Bayern Munich. He's someone who can't really travel too far from Poland. And, his agent's desperate to get him to a club in the Premiership to get him on big wages. But to be honest, he gets a lot of chances to waste at Dortmund because he's the focus of their play. When he plays for Poland and he's the focus of the play, he doesn't convert half of them either. When he comes into the Premiership and he's got top-class centre-backs like Mertesacker, Cahill, people of that nature marking him, he's not going to get half the chances he's getting, so he won't score half the goals. I think he'd be a failure if he came to England, because I think refs will soon start looking at him in the same way they should start looking at Ashley Young.
Yeah, that's very true. And also, you add on to the fact that Aaron Ramsey has got an 86.1% successful pass rate, which is that, and it's just absolutely brilliant. The man he's on fire. He's got to be my favourite player at the moment, and every single time he scores a goal or does anything, I think everyone's heart just beats that little bit faster for the bloke, because it could have been so easy if he'd have given up to end up drifting out on loan again, ended up at a championship team, much like many other players. And I'm not mentioning Bentley, but I suppose we mentioned Bentley, who is at the moment even without a club. Talking about ex-Arsenal players who have moved clubs, well done to William Gallas, who has himself a new club playing in the Australian, the ALS, the Australian ASL, Australian Super League. I think he's playing for Melbourne. So there you go, Bentner. There is hope for you yet. Oh, not Bentner. Bendy, Bent.
Can't.
What am I saying? Bentley. All these B's. I can't cope. I'm allergic.
Yeah, but you know, there's no justice in life. I mean, David Bentley. I was reading an article about him. You know, he's got no club, but he owns a restaurant in Port Banús and he's got a boat out there and he's probably worth about £10 million and he's as thick as mince. There's just no justice in this world, is there?
Yeah.
No.
I suppose the only downside is he's got to live with the fact that he has got that stain of playing for the vermin up the road.
Yeah, when I was talking about the Arteta thing, we have a La Liga expert here. John, was there anything you want to add about Arteta?
Well, you know, anybody that knows me knows that I prefer Flamini in that holding position. I think,
ditto.
you know, I think that, you know, he's more defensively minded. But I wanted to talk briefly about Arteta's the steps that he's taken to become more, fluent in that defensive position. And I think that you can see it in the last two games. And, even more so since Flamini has arrived at the club. Arteta's such a professional that I think that he's taken tips from a player in similar age and, playing the same position, that I think Flamini's signing, has even, filtered down to even a veteran player like Arteta taking some tips from that. Arteta had played the position well. Let's not be folly on that point. He's played it well, commendably, coming from a more offensive position at Everton. But I think that you can see the development of him becoming a more defensively minded player over the last couple of years, even more so now that Flamini's at the club.
Yeah,
Very
definitely.
Good.
So we'll move on to the main topic of the podcast this week then, and it's a bit different. We don't normally talk about up-and-coming games. We just discuss the results the week after they've actually happened. But this Sunday sees Arsenal travel up to Manchester in what can be one of the most anticipated games of the season so far. So I just want to pick your brains on this, fellas, and how Old Trafford, or the scum, what should we call it, the theatre of tourists, or however, in which way, the shower of shite, I'm sure there's many ways to describe. However, it's not always been a happy hunting ground in the past, Danny, has it, for Arsenal?
No, I mean, I was looking at that we've played 99 games there, and we have won 16 of them. I was trying to, that 99 thing, I was trying to drop in a JZ thing, but I decided not to. But
99 problems, but the pitch ain't one. Hit me.
There you go. My brain was telling my mouth to say something, and I was... anyway. So, yeah, we've won 16% of the games. 99 games played there. They've won 58. We've won 16 and 25 drawn. And then I was going through the games. We haven't won a game... In the last 18 games, we've only won 3. And that was May 2002, beaten 1-0 in the Prem. February 2003, we beat them 2-0 in the FA Cup. And September 2006, beaten 1-0 in the Premier League. And that's it. So we've not had a win there since 2006. So what's that, 7 years? But then you're looking at Man United's form this season. First 16 games, won 9, drawn 4, lost 3. Looks like Fellaini is a hothead they're struggling to control because 2 yellows and he was sent off the other day. Rio is going to need a Zimmer frame to try and cope with all of our midfielders. He won't know whether to shit or bust. And what have they got? They've got the backstabbing.
Van Penis couldn't hit a barn door. Did you see that miss? Oh my word!
It was the catch done, and then you got the fat boy who sins to turn up for games when he can be bothered, and you've got the diving young who is absolutely shit. I think he's scored 1 or 2 goals in the last 3 seasons.
Phil Jones sat on the bench pulling a face, looking like he shit himself.
That team is in rapid decline, and I am loving every second of it. And I just don't think they're much. And when we go there, and I'll settle for a draw. Not that I can do that, because if I knew that, I'd put all my money on a draw. But if we go up there and get a draw, I'll be very happy. But I think we have got what it takes to beat them.
One of the main questions that I wanted to ask, and I'll ask it to you, Geoff, is United are stuttering in 8th position at the moment, whereas we're top of the league. If you were unaware of the teams at that position in the league, do you not think, regardless of whether we're home or away, we should be beating a team that's in 8th position, whether it's Man United or not?
Yeah, but you know what is a game like Arsenal versus Manchester United is a great leveler anyway, no matter who are top and who are lower or whatever, because it just is. Anyone who plays Arsenal and anyone who plays Man United, they always tend to raise their game anyway because they're both very, very big clubs. But I wouldn't take too much notice. I think they are going to finish in the top 5. I don't think they're going to make the top 4 this year, Man United. I think they're going to struggle. But going up there, I think we've got a fantastic chance. I honestly, I really, really do fancy us to go up there and beat them for the first time in a long while. The way we pass it about and that, and I think they're struggling. David Moyes, for whatever reason, he just can't seem to, get a good run under his belt to silence his critics, because they're just waiting, aren't they? They're waiting to just jump on him every single little thing that goes wrong, and it was a poison chalice to take over from anyway. But they're struggling at the minute, United, and I think for the first time, like I said, for the first time in years, we're going to go up there as favourites.
And Steve, do you think league position is a factor for you?
No, I agree with what Geoff said. I mean, I'm sure Jose Mourinho thought he was on a banker against Newcastle, and look what fucking happened there, which was most amusing. It's always a big game. It's probably one of, or if not the biggest game. I think Alex Ferguson said it's the biggest game in English football. It's the one that gets the biggest TV ratings. Both sides raise their game. I mean, in the past, Ferguson always seemed to have the Indian eye over Wenger. He always sort of seemed to know how he could block Arsenal. I'm not sure Moyes' team tactically, and I know John's going to come in on this and help me out in a minute. I'm not sure Moyes' tactics he plays really enable him to actually foil us like Ferguson used to. And I think the fact you've got Ozil there, you actually could do something like, for example, 1 minute you could be out on the left and then drop right back in front of the defence, pick the ball up, and then send the ball right into the path of a player like Cazorla or Giroud, right over the top of midfield, which is something they wouldn't expect to happen. And probably, with the slowness of Ferdinand, that player, if you can bring the ball down, has got a bloody good chance to score. I fancy us, to keep the ball. I think they're going to get frustrated. And it's not just Fellaini they've got that's short-tempered. Rooney's another one who's very combustious. And so is Van Persie. And I think it's up to our players to really understand that they've got to be really professional, not rise to the fouls, not rise to the mouthing off and anything that's going on the ball. Just keep your mind and focus on the game. I don't want to see one Arsenal player in that tunnel acknowledge Van Persie. Do what Sanya does, look straight ahead, blank the fucking wanker, and walk out on the pitch and leave him to Flamini. And I want to see Flamini in the middle of midfield. Actually, do you know what I want to see with 3 minutes to go? We're 3-0 up. I want to see Szczesny bobble a ball out, just temptingly in front of Van Persie, and we bring Frimpong on, let him ruin him and get sent off and win the game. Winners all round.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not forget what Van Persie, or should I say the Kutch stunt, did to Andre Santos last year, which some will argue that actually finished his Arsenal career, because at that point he'd lost the existing fans that were still on his side. And that was only by swapping a shirt at half-time. There will be head games going on by him, because he is the kind of arsehole that plays head games.
He'll go after Ramsey. Him and Ramsey had a fight after, I think it was a game against Manchester United, where Ramsey elected to shot and not pass to Van Persie, who was in an open position. Van Persie went in the changing room and tried to punch Ramsey, and they had to be pulled apart as far as I know. There's no love lost there. But look at the difference in our team, in the way they are together, how together they are, how much fun they seem to be having. Now he's gone. It's quite obvious he was an odious character in the dressing room, an egotistical, hideous bastard. And he's gone to the right place where he can pursue that, to his utmost with the rest of them up there. So, they've just got to keep their heads. They've got to keep their heads. They've got to ignore him. Don't even talk to him. Spit on him, because he's not even worth your spit.
No, definitely. And I'll refer back to a question that I think it was you, Danny, asked John Cross about David Moyes being at Everton and them not winning anything, and then moving to Man United, and then Everton going above Man United, and how maybe the factor in Man United's demise at the moment might actually be down to Moyes. I'd love to hear what John has to think on this one.
Well, I mean, I've said it before. I think what's happened with Moyes is more about personnel. I think, Ferguson jumped ship at the right time. If you look at their personnel, I mean, their midfield is a fucking disaster. Their defense is horrible. They've had some bad injury breaks obviously on the defensive end, but with Smalling. But just overall, I think it's a subpar team that got results, on hard work and on referee preference, and and a lot on reputation. I don't know, if the panelists agree with that, but I think, this weekend is a lot to do with, a mental game. I'm gonna compare it to, like, growing up in the U.S. to when the Bulls were trying to, win their first championships, and they had to overcome the Pistons teams. I think it's more mental. They had more talent, they had more everything, but it was that mental block of having to win that first game, having to win those first series of games. I think once we do that, I think we'll go above United easily. I think, the game will be a little bit like the Liverpool game last week. But I think overall, I think people need to stop blaming the manager over there. I think they need to start looking at the players, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that perform.
And Geoff, we'll go back to you. And the one question that I think probably most people will be wanting to ask: if we beat United, should we finally be taken seriously by journos and such like? Because I've not heard a lot of people actually tipping us for the title. I don't believe any of the match of the day pundits have. And there is something later on in this topic, as in the next question, that will go to the one person that has done. But do you think we should be taken seriously if we go to United and win?
Oh, I think we should be taken seriously now anyway, to be honest with you. Especially after that great win at Dortmund yesterday. So why not? I mean, like we spoke about the pundits earlier on. But you know what? It's best just let them carry on the way they are and talking us down. And all we got to do is just keep on winning them games, and they'll slowly turn around, I promise you. Because our football itself is coming back. It's fantastic. So let them get on with it, mate.
And how ironic is it, Danny, that Gary Neville is that one particular pundit that I've heard that is tipping Arsenal for the title? He's not only ex-Manure player, but he's turned out to be one of the best pundits on Sky Sports. Do you agree with that?
Oh, it's disgusting, isn't it? The odious little shit of a footballer who was...
Rat face.
Oh, is one player that I really... I'm doing my best not to swear here. I really bloody hated him, but he is by far the best person on Sky Sports when it comes to his opinion, his tactical breakdown. Everything that he does is really, really good. And the fact that he goes on there and he isn't like all the Liverpool ones, drooling over his old team, says a lot for the man. But as a player, he was still an arsehole.
Yes, I totally agree. And we'll finish this segment off in the podcast by going to Steve.
I think John hit the nail on the head there when he said, a lot of critics are out there going for Moyes, but a lot of critics should be looking to the players. I think it's like all great teams go through cycles of success. In Liverpool, at 20 years at the top, in 1989, we went up there and we beat them 2-0 and removed the league and kicked them off their perch. And then Man United spent the next 20 years smashing their face into the dirt. And I'm afraid now it's United's turn. Their cycle's ended. Ferguson saw it coming. He left before his record was ruined. And I think we can sum it up in one song. The party's over. It's time to call it a day. Yeah. We need to go up there today and do what we did at Anfield. And put them to bed. And I don't care what the pundits say about us. The more they keep knocking us, the more they say we haven't played big teams, let them say what they like. Because them players are standing there and they know they beat Dortmund last night. They know they've beaten Liverpool. They know they've beaten the Vermin, who are currently playing some obscure Armenian or God knows where from Moldavan team and are doing very badly. They know they've done all this, and they know that there's a lot more to come out of this team. And let's not forget one thing. All we need to do is get to January with no injuries, and we've got £150 million stashed in the bank that Mr. Wenger can go out and buy himself a world-class striker with, a right back, and a few other little trinkets to play with to add into that side. Plus, we've got to come back Walcott, Flamini, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, and so on and so forth. Let's go to United with the idea that not only are we going to win up there, but we're going to put an end to their stain on British football of cheating with referees. Let's do it. The party's over.
I mean, in their mid-table mediocrity, what are they, 8th at the moment?
Who's this, Spurs or Man United? Oh, sorry, both of them, yeah.
Yes, so I think, I agree. We're going to go there. We're going to be full of confidence, and we have got more than enough to beat them.
Right, so shall we move on to some questions then? I'll start this one off with a very nice question that was sent to me by a very good friend of mine called Josh Steele. And he wants to know, what is our views on the captaincy being switched to Mertesacker with Arteta as vice-captain, as Vermaelen is struggling to get into the team? Who would like to field this one?
Not me, because has it been announced, or are you just rumouring it?
It's nothing that's been announced.
It's hypothetical, I think.
Yes, this is with Vermaelen struggling to get in the team. Normally, you would say that your captain is a player that should be playing every game, bar injury. So basically, I think he's saying give it to a player that's playing every game. Mertesacker is the rock at the defence at the moment. Does he captain the national team?
Who's
Mertesacker?
Mertesacker? No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. No.
But
I don't think Arsene Wenger worries too much about the captain's job. He wants all 11 people out there to be captains, doesn't he? I think, but I think obviously they've got to give the responsibility formally to somebody. And when Arteta plays, he seems to be the captain. If Mertesacker's there as well, to be honest with you, they can chop it around if they want to. It doesn't really make any difference. But Vermaelen ain't going to be, he's not going to be playing too much, I don't think, this season. He's going to be coming on maybe as a sub, or if we've got any injuries. But there could be just 3 or 4 captains that could be out. I mean, Matt Flamini, he could be a captain as well, couldn't he? The way he plays the game. So I wouldn't worry about it. Let them deal with it themselves.
I think that's perfect. Danny, would you like to carry on with the questions?
Certainly. Love
fantastic.
to. We've got some really good ones. Steve, there's that stat that you were going to say about a certain Mr. Defoe. I think it might be a bit relevant because he's just someone dived for a dodgy penalty. So what was that amazing stat you had that I thought was brilliant?
Oh, yeah, he's, it's 2 stats. I think Jermaine Defoe is one off being Europe's all-time European scorer, which is Martin Chivers' record, and Martin Chivers is older than me and Geoff, so that shows you what a crap record that is. But Jermaine Defoe has scored 66% of all his goals on ITV or Channel 5. So there you go. And I'm gonna steal a tweet here from someone called @OilySailor. And his song for Defoe is "I shot the sheriff, but I remain Soldado's deputy." Excellent.
Right, a side note to the captaincy thing, Ant_Walter3 says, who would you prefer to see as the long-term captain for Arsenal, Wilshere or Ramsey? Anyone?
Ramsey. I can't see that Jack's got the temperament for it, and I think he's got enough on his back as it is. He needs to get fit.
And he was the Welsh captain as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Which I reckon he will get back sooner rather than later, because old matey boy, the Welsh manager, what is it? The Blackburn. Is it Coleman? Is he still the Welsh manager?
Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, he ain't going to last much longer there. He's on at hiding and nothing. How about you and John and Geoff? What do you reckon to the captaincy in the future with those two?
I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? I think they could be neck and neck, really. Obviously not on current form. It's it's a no-brainer. But I don't know. There might be somebody else pop up. But I suppose later on, either or. Honestly, I'm not a man to sit on the fence, but you can never tell what happens, can you?
How about you, John?
Well, I mean, I think on current form, like Geoff said, it's a no-brainer. But I mean, you're looking at Wilshere, that's an academy kid coming up through the ranks. Let's be honest. I mean, when Ramsey was having his struggles, this team, depended on Jack a lot more than some would like to admit. So, if he's completely fit, I think you can do captain, vice captain with Ramsey and Jack. Why not both?
Yeah, that would be good to definitely see that happen. Another quick question from Twitter is someone we all know and love, @PlasticSpam says, your favourite Man United game, and he's given 71, 79, 91, 98, 02, 03. My personal one, 1979. Fantastic game. Alan Sunderland and his afro. You lot?
No, for me, it'd have to be where we won at Old Trafford 1-0 with Overmars, and I was in corporate hospitality with a load of Cockney Reds that day. And my dad's got a picture of me. I'm the only person in the whole stand behind Ferguson standing up with his arms in the air when we scored. I was banned at the corporate lounge afterwards for giving McGuinness, their ex-manager, a load of grief.
What a way to go, though.
Yeah, and even better, to add insult to injury, I won the raffle, which was a signed Man United kit. And I wouldn't let them have it back. They wanted to put it back in the drawer. And I went out on the terraces and gave it to some disabled kid. And then I got Roy Keane to go out there and sign it for him, which really pissed off. That's probably why I got banned, actually.
John or Geoff?
Yeah, my game was the when we won the league, the Ville Tord goal. I mean, I was actually I had to give £250 for a ticket to sit in the Stratford end, and it was myself and a pal, and I had to sit on my hands all the game. And then
you must have been sat there on your own at the fucking end. They all ran off home, didn't they?
No, mate, there was a lot of Arsenal in there. When we scored, unfortunately, I jumped up, my pal jumped up, and there must have been 200 or 300 in there, all scattered about everywhere, and we all sat down a bit sharpishly, you know. But that was definitely the game. I'll never forget that because it was such a monumental game. There's not many teams that can go to Man United at Old Trafford in their pomp and win the league at their gaff, the old Tin Pot Trafford.
Down to you then, John. Which was your favourite one?
Being the violent prick that I am, when Keown went into Van Nistelrooy's face after the penalty miss.
Oh,
that was lovely. Lovely stuff.
Oh, the mighty Sheriff have pulled one back. The world-dominating voyeurs of
So what is it?
Football.
What is it now? What's the score now?
2-1.
No, is it 2-1? Laurel Miller.
Yeah.
It's
2-1.
It's Tottenham 110 million, Sheriff $1 million.
How about you, Gim? Which one of those was your favourite year?
I didn't hear it, to be honest. I was.
Were you having a wee?
Yes, I was.
I think he was knocking one out, wasn't he? It took 30 seconds.
So was it the 71, 79, 91, 98, 02 or 03?
Do you know what? I think my fondest memory of Old Trafford is Mark Overmars running down the wing and cutting inside and just slotting it in. What a goal that was. Yeah. I don't think I've ever screamed so loudly, and I was probably a little bit younger and my voice was probably a little bit more shrill than it is now. Ever shouting so loudly at a goal. Just great memories, and it was a superb year for our football club. Yeah, just happy memories.
It was indeed brilliant. I remember that day like it was yesterday. I was sat in bed with the incubator of my sperm, and we were both watching the game, and it was both screamed. Well, she screamed, and then I said it wasn't me. Anyway, next question from you lovely people at Twitter. We put a little tweet out, and Geoff retweeted it, and so did Steve. And so did John, saying we have some questions, and you lot sent in about 5 billion questions. So there was loads about Alexandre Pato, who's recently left Milan to go back to my Brazilian team, Corinthians, and now they've said he's up for sale because they're having a horrendous season. He's not scoring that many goals. They paid 15 million for him, and there's talk that they want to let him go. We were rumoured with him before he left Milan, but we were talking about this before the podcast, and none of us know any more than that. The Suarez stuff, again, we might as well save that for another podcast because no one really knows anything other than there is talk, but there's always talk of a deal being back on. So people have asked these questions relating to transfers. How many players do we need to sign in January so that we can have the depth to fight for the title? Go to Geoff on that one.
2, I reckon.
Well, one of them's got to be a right back.
Well, one of them's going to be a right back and a striker if we can, but it's so difficult to buy them in January. All the top quality players are cut tied out of the Champions League, but I don't think that would stop Wenger. But I think we definitely do need 2. We need a proper right back to take place of Bakary once he's injured, because he's going to get injured or he's going to need a rest, and I don't really think Jenks is up for it at that higher level at the moment. And if we could add a top quality striker, which I think we will, whether we buy one or if we get one on loan, I think we'll definitely get a top striker.
Because I know a lot of people wanted to ask you questions about the transfers, but it's so far away, it's so hard to tell, and then all the papers, when they've got no news, they just start printing transfer rumours, don't they? So it's a little bit hard to try and to say what's going to happen now, but we will talk about it when we get closer to the transfer window. John, what do you reckon? How many players do you think we need, and possibly who?
For me, it's a right back and a striker as well. We were linked with Korcha from Socha, and a striker is going to be so hard to get, though. I mean, you're either going to overpay for second tier talent, or you're going to have to, hope that Giroud, has a magic serum that lets him play every single fucking match from here to the end of the year. So we're for me, striker, it's where it's at. I don't think you can, you can't depend on Sanogo or Bentner. As much as we hope that Bentner comes good, even for 6 months, just not looking like it at the moment. So
I bet you've got something to say on this, Steve.
Yeah, we need to. I think we need to sign 3 players. I think we need to sign a right back. I think we need to sign a forward. And I think we need to sign possibly a winger as well. And if we can get 2 out of those 3, we stand a very good chance of winning the league. But I think the forward is the most important thing, because it's odds on that Giroud's going to, unfortunately, he says, holding a wooden table, getting injured. I hope he doesn't. But if we can get to January and buy someone, play up front, as John said, it's got to be top quality. And there are forwards out there that aren't, cup tied, and the World Cup is coming, and they want to be playing on the big stage to get the attention of their national manager and to earn more money and play for bigger clubs, and they can be got. And we, as I said, we've got £150 million in the bank, and we've also got a lot of free money on our wages bill. And it bodes well, because we've also got players coming back that also need to get the attention of Roy Hodgson, and sitting on the bench because you're not doing well enough at the Arsenal is not going to get you to the World Cup. So, yeah, we do need to sign people, but Pato's a no-go. I read a very interesting article by Tim Stillman off of Twitter about Pato. Tim's a bit of a Brazilian football, league football aficionado.
I've spoken to you many times about that. We have a love for Brazilian football.
Yeah, and Tim was saying that Pato had attitude problems at Milan, was lodged out for allegedly getting hold of someone in the club's daughter. He also has been driving his new club, is it Corinthians?
Yeah.
He's been driving them mental over there, not turning up for training, disdain towards the fans, casual attitude. They've had enough. They've publicly announced he's for sale because they want to get rid of him to appease the fans. I can't see Arsene Wenger going for someone who's had loads of injury problems and has got a massive attitude and ego problem. He's just got rid of one. He doesn't need to import one. I think what he's after, we all know who he likes and why he likes it. And when it gets nearer the time, then we'll see what happens, won't we? But, as people keep saying, we may get ideas or we may know things from sources, but they can't be discussed in public. They can't be whacked on the internet, because where they come from is endangering somebody's livelihood. And people have got to understand that and stop badgering and asking questions, because, if there's information there, it's genuine. And it means it came from a source that's genuine, which means, therefore, it can't be made public. End of the discussion.
Very true. How about you, Mr. Gimli from Wales? What do you reckon?
I would actually agree with the rest of the guys. I think we definitely need right back to deputise when Sanya is eventually going to get injured, if he gets injured, and like Steve, holding on to a wooden table. And I also think a striker, someone, and the dream choice, let's be honest, fellas, it's got to be Suarez, hasn't it? Suarez is just a sublime footballer. He can twist and turn, create something. Those 2-headed goals against, was it Norwich? I could be wrong about that one, but he scored 2-headed goals. No, it could have been West Brom. And they're just absolutely fantastic. They made Cazorla's header look, second rate. I also think if we are going someone that's probably a little bit off the radar that I would like to see, it would be Saint Etienne player Kurt Zouma. I think the boy is absolutely amazing. As centre backs go, I think he's one of probably the top 2-3 central defenders coming through the ranks at the moment. I'd love to see him in the team. I think those 3 or 2 of those 3, and I will be a very, very happy boy.
I think there's some very good points there. I mean, personally, I'd like to see Jenkinson go out on loan to a Premier League team on the condition that he plays every game, get a half-decent right back, and I'd like to see Shaw from Southampton as a spare centre-back, because all season we are playing one of our main 2 is Koscielny and Mertesacker. Every game this season, one of those has to play, because we don't have enough. We've only really got Vermaelen to play at the back. Although I know the mighty Miguel scored for Leicester in the League Cup, he's not going to make it. So we need another central defender. So I'd say right back. Hey?
Hayden.
Yeah, but maybe I would say for the League Cup games, so that's no longer a problem. But is he good enough to come in and play a Premier League game at a day's notice if someone gets a knock?
Bakary Sagna play centre half, wouldn't he?
Yeah, but then you still need someone at right back. And I've got a lot of time for Jenkinson, but I don't think that's going to be who we're going to go for.
A caveat about Jenkinson. Just because we're saying that he needs to go on loan doesn't mean that we don't think he's going to make it. I just think that he needs a little seasoning. I mean, fuck sakes. Jack went on loan. There's been a lot of notable players that have gone on loan and come back and, done a job for the club. So, I think people get, misconstrued when they hear loan and say, oh, well, you don't support the player. I think that's completely
I think Arsenal have got to a stage now where we don't need to be having players that are learning on the job anymore. You know what I mean? We've got the quality. We've got the quality there. We've got the money to go out and purchase a player if we really do. Need to get them in immediately and send him out on loan. He is definitely one for the future. I think he's got a future at Arsenal Football Club, but he needs confidence, doesn't he? And he's only going to get that. He's only going to get that through playing.
Well, we did it with Monreal last year.
Yeah.
We went out and got Monreal, and that wasn't a detriment to Gibbs. I think that made Gibbs better. I think that gave him a chance to recover when he had injuries instead of having to come back early. So it's not a detriment to the current team. I think a loan move is sometimes good for the player.
Right, well, we need to move this on a bit because we've been talking for ages. Our old mate, AFC Glenn, hashtag Mr. Red Trousers. This is not something you really have to answer. He says, what will we win this year? Because we will win something. And I think that's just nice. And I think we all agree with that we can possibly win something this year. So the last question, we've had so many brilliant questions. I like this one from Gunnar Dillon, who does the Three Blokes Talking Arse podcast. He says, will returning players be able to successfully integrate into the squad, which is playing so well? And that's the last question. So I go to Geoff on that one.
Sorry, I didn't hear that first part. What did you say again, mate? I beg your pardon.
That's right. That's okay. He says, Dylan says, will returning players be able to successfully integrate into a squad which is playing so well?
Yeah, of course they will. Obviously, they won't be put in straight away. They'll be integrated when needed. But no, when they're out on that training pitch, they've all played together for a long, and that's the best thing. We didn't lose any this summer. That's the main part of it. That's why I thought we'd do better than we did last year, because obviously the group have been together another year. So no, they're no problem integrating at all. And they'll come in and out as they wish.
Very good. How about you, John? What do you think to that?
Well, I think we have, you have your big games and you have your, so-called, smaller games, typical games. I think we have enough of both to integrate everybody back. And, rotation is never a bad thing.
Steve?
I don't think rotation is a bad thing. I think it's brilliant. We've got these players coming back in. It's competition for places. There's no one now is guaranteed first choice, bar Aaron Ramsey. If Walcott's got any ideas of coming back in and doing his past the Sagna and hide in midfield, then he can forget it, because he can be removed. Gnabry can take his place, or we rejig and he can come off. So if he wants to go to Rio, he's got to up his game massively. I think he's actually got to prove in this contract that he's going to make it to the next level. And Oxlade-Chamberlain's going to come back. He's going to be fighting position. These players are played in the system. They're Arsenal players. They know what's required, and they can play in that system, and they will do. What they'll give is strength and depth in midfield and the rest of the squad. We just need to block those little holes where we're a bit short.
How about you, little Mr. Gimli, in your size 2 shoes?
I don't think you can ever call squad rotation a bad thing. I agree with Steve. There's lots of players that are going to be looking to go to the World Cup. You've got Monreal, who's isn't he actually first choice for Spain at the moment, because their first choice is out injured. So I think all these players are going to want to get a game. Competition is never a bad thing. Injuries will come. That's inevitable. The one thing that I see on Twitter from Tottenham fans week in, week out is that, you'll get a few injuries and you'll fall off the pace. Well, as I recall, Cazorla was out for a long time. Podolski has been out for a long time. Ox has been out for a long time. Would you not say that we've had those injuries?
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, and the way I look at it, we're still top of the league and we haven't been playing badly. When they're top of the league, fucking come and say something about it. But until then, I think they've, sit down, shut up. So yeah, squad rotation, it's never a bad thing. Competition is always good, and that's all I've got to say about that.
We're not just top of the league, we're 5 points clear at the top of the league.
Exactly. We pissed all over that Dortmund yellow wall or whatever they're talking about. We turned that wall yellow. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Do you reckon we should move this on to wrap it up with the, what do we do next? It's the shout-outs, isn't it?
Shouty shouts.
All right then. So go on, Gimli. I'm handing it back to you now that you've been and had your wee-wee. Did you wash your hands?
I certainly did.
Oh, lovely. So well trained.
I dried them on your mum's dress.
Oh no! Last time I saw she wasn't wearing a dress.
Oh, that's wrong. What was the caravan to be with no fucking wheels?
Yeah, before we were recording this, me and Gimli run through the show, and then Gimli says, my mum was here, and then Gimli says, I'll tell you, mum, I said hello. I said, oh, mum, Gimli says hello. And then my mum went, who's he?
She's not fucking wrong either, is she?
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what? I always do my shout-outs last, but I'm going to do them first this week. Fuck the rest of you.
Welsh wanker.
And Ginger. And I've got 3 this week. And the first one is at the Gold Cannon. And I put out a tweet on Twitter basically asking for someone to reply to me with something funny. And the winner of that would get my shout-out. So he was the winner of that. The next one I've got is Montario 100. That's Montario 100, and he's been helping us to try and get Ray Parlour on the show. So watch this space with that one. And finally, this one isn't a silly one. It's nothing stupid. We got a DM this morning from someone called Arsenal_Perez7, didn't we, Danny?
We certainly did. I've had to mute this because the microwave is on, but go on.
In that tweet, he told us that recently he'd lost his mum, and he's been listening to the podcast, and it was to all of us in general that we'd helped him through and kept him smiling and laughing with all of our silly antics on this podcast. And he wanted to say a big thank you to all of us that take part. So basically, I just wanted to shout him out and say thank you. And
chin up, lad.
Yeah, chin up.
Chin up,
condolences.
We are thinking about you, and you are a Bergkamp Wonderland's new favourite listener. So we'll move on then, and Danny, your shout out.
Yeah, the one person I want to say hello to is Kaylina, who is at DORKKLY, who does the world's greatest infographics, and I think the last one took her about 4 years to do. So you go and have a look on her timeline, go and have a look at her infographics. They're absolutely brilliant. And talking about people who spend a lot of their time designing stuff, Anita Rosa, who is at ARSENALOFKA. So I'd like to say Bok to her, because she's Croatian, and that's hello. I'm multilingual. And because she's a Croatian goon, and she does the desktop pictures for your computer.
Anita did my AVI.
Did she?
Yeah.
It's very, very good. I've currently got her November one, so go and have a look through her ones. Go and download them. She does them in about 6 or 8 different resolutions, and they are all absolutely brilliant. I think she does 3 types for every single month, and those things must take her hours. So go follow her and go and have a look at those. They're really fantastic.
Okay. And next up, we'll go to Steve.
Yeah, I've got 2 shout-outs tonight. I've got 2 shout-outs and a gloat. And the first is a guy called Goonazoid, at Goonazoid, who last night posted a horrific meme and responded to my request to take it down, and he did so. A right gent and a lovely bloke, and I promised him I'd give him a shout-out. And my second shout-out is to Scott Andrews, who you can find at Scott Poland, who's an author of the book called Existence is Futile. He was my drinking partner last night. His favourite swear word is focaccia. And he's probably at the moment hanging around at the back of the Marriott Hotel taking pictures of extremely ugly hookers, because he's the sort of guy that does shit like that.
And he did a blog for us last week. So that's the second. If you go to the Bergie blog, so he did the second kind of last one.
Yeah, and also I'd like to give a big mention to Mr. Kurowski of TVP, who asked Arsene Wenger a fucking stupid question in the pre-match press conference. Spent all night like a cunt on TVP, going on and on and on about his question to Arsene Wenger about what about Mr. Lewandowski, to where Arsene Wenger pointed to Olivier Giroud and said, yes, but I've got him, so I don't care, and moved on. I need to point out to our listeners that Kure, which is part of Kurowski, means his name is Mr. Chicken in Polish, which actually obviously means I suspect him of being Spurs in disguise. There you go.
No relation to Chicken George, I hope.
Certainly, I hope not.
Geoff, you next?
Yeah, well, I don't normally give shout-outs because I've got so many fantastic followers. I think it's a little bit mean if I. Anyway, but there's one big shout-out tonight, a special shout-out to a friend of the podcast who lost his power a while ago, and he's doing when you grow your moustache for Movember, and that is AFC_Glenn. Now we've got, I think, 10,000 followers on the AFC podcast site, and I reckon if we all go and put £1 each, he'll get £10,000, and that's a lot of money. At the minute, they're up to about 300 quid. But AFC_Glenn, go and he's a good follower as well. So go and follow him, and let's try and give him £1 each, everybody, please. Thank you.
I'm going to give him my life savings, which equates to about 27p, but hard earned.
Everything's good, mate. Everything's good.
He will have every penny of my money. I could assure you that. And I suggest that every single person that listens to this, out of the goodness of your heart, goes and clicks on that and give our good friend Glenn just a quid.
And we already have done. Earlier this week, we donated £10 and 10 pence to Glenn's thing, and he said thanks for us.
Definitely.
Right.
And we'll finish off with John.
Just a couple. One, this is an American Gooner in Dallas, my old stomping grounds. Maxwell, JAYDFW. And the other one is somebody I think that we all follow. Really great insights and funny tweets. At THE_BECK_ the Beck.
Oh, I've heard of him. Are you going to
good stuff?
Are you going to mention your new blogging job for the lovely people at Goonersphere?
The guys at Goonersphere. Geoff and I appeared on their podcast a couple weeks ago, and they're good guys. I have a page on there now called La Liga Loca, so go check that out.
And
why aren't you blogging for us?
Because you didn't fucking ask anybody, you tit.
I did ask him.
Well, he wasn't listening.
I'll give you guys some stuff, obviously.
That's very good of you. But we want to say that you should go and listen to the Goonersphere podcast, because Daniel Cowan and Stooks spent an absolute massive amount of time doing their stuff. And they recently did a Halloween special that I nearly wet my pants when I heard it. And we've asked them to do one of us, and they said, how do you know we already haven't? So definitely go and listen to those. They are
Stokes is fucking mental.
He's a squirrel short of a chicken sandwich.
He is nuttier than squirrel shit.
And that's very nutty.
It is indeed. So we'll move on then, and if I can get your predictions for tonight, Danny?
Oh, here we go. I'm not even sure who we're playing next. Is it some
Marseille, isn't it? Yeah.
Is it some piss poor team up north?
Yeah.
I'm going to say
Surrey United, isn't it?
Yeah, forget all about it.
That would be a long, tearful drive home back to Essex and Surrey for all those wanky little fucks who are now contemplating supporting Chelsea or Man City. I think we're going to go there. I think we're going to beat them 1-0, and I'm going to go Ramsey with a quality goal, with a diving back kick volley header. And so we got another game before the next pod, which is next Thursday. Have we got a game coming up before then? I say that.
Have we?
Time? I don't know. I'm saying, have we?
No.
Because there's an interlull, isn't there?
Oh, Jesus.
Loads of people can get fucking injured, unfortunately, possibly.
Well, there you go. That's my one.
Okay, and Steve?
I think I will forecast that we'll win 2-1. I think the first score will be Aaron Ramsey. But I'll take a draw now.
Fantastic. John?
I'm going to go 2-0 for us. Giroud, the first score.
And Geoff?
I think we will go 2-0 up, and Giroud will score the first goal, and we'll win 2-1. They'll score a late goal, United, a late rally.
And I'm going 2-0 with Ramsey as first scorer. So that's it then. Right, I will leave this by thanking all of you guys for joining me and Danny tonight.
Again, the fucking tumbleweed. Jesus. It's nice to say it's been a pleasure.
You know what it's like? We've been on here so long, we're all trying to light a fag on the quiet, or nibble the corner of a sandwich on the quiet, or Gimli's fiddling with himself, and Geoff's trying to tell the dogs to shut up because they want to go out. or trying to ignore the fact one's done a pony on the carpet, and I hope the missus ain't seen it.
At least it's winter and Geoff doesn't have a fucking fan on.
I'm wallpapering, but I ain't got no paste. Right, so we'll leave it on that note then. So that was a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and keep it Arsenal. Good night.
Nanu, sexy bitches.
And to end the show tonight, we have a special request for a member of the podcast regulars who's allegedly in a conference at Brighton, but we know that he woke up this morning with a thong in his hand, and this is for him and Mustang Sally, baby.
Ass and titties. Ass and titties.
Sally is also probably a 16-stone lorry driver really called Larry, but we're not sure about that.
Proper hench.
Buttock sweat.
That's too good.